Shalom. JewsByChoice.org website asked, who are a group of very serious Jews by choice, wanting to really understand Jewish law, perhaps from a non-Orthodox perspective, asked about how legal decisions are made by the rabbinate today. Now, I'm not speaking for Orthodoxy, but the conservative rabbinate takes Jewish law very seriously, and I'm going to describe the process they go by in making decisions. First of all, the conservative rabbi of a synagogue is the Mara D'Atra, which is essentially the same idea as a posek. If a question arises in a synagogue, the rabbi is the halachic authority. Now, of course, the reality is that there's religious services or ritual committees and boards, and ultimately, if they don't like the decisions the rabbi makes, they change rabbis. But the rabbi is supposed to be the arbiter of Jewish law within the guidelines of the conservative rabbinate. Now, what does that mean? We have a law committee consisting of 25 rabbis, and they are appointed roughly a third by the Rabbinical Assembly, which is the international body of conservative rabbis, a third by United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism, which is the lay organization, and a third by the seminary faculty. And they get questions that the individual rabbi in a synagogue doesn't feel ready to answer, or that he's qualified to answer. Then these questions go to the law committee. The bigger questions like, can you drive to Shul on Shabbat if you live too far away? Or if there's no kosher restaurant in town to have a bar mitzvah reception, can you eat broiled fish, let's say, in a non-kosher restaurant and consider that kosher? Can you use electricity on Shabbat? All the modern questions that come up, everything that's too large for an individual rabbi are asked of these law committees, and they issue rulings. Now, the rabbi really is free to follow them or not. There used to be majority and minority decisions. If they got a certain number of votes, it's considered valid, and that's still true today. If it gets a certain number of votes, usually 6 on most questions, then you can follow the opinion. So you can have, I know it seems a little bit interesting or maybe even absurd, you can have contradictory decisions that both are considered kosher. But it's not absurd because Jewish law has always had the notion there could be multiple truths. For example, there's a line in the Talmud that says, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and these are both the words of the living God. So unlike the Supreme Court, which says it's 5-4, you only follow the 5, we can have decisions that saying cheese that has rabbinic supervision is kosher, and cheese that doesn't have rabbinic supervision is also kosher. So if you want to be more machamir, more traditional, more stringent, go ahead. But they're both okay. Now, if something doesn't rise to the level of standard of rabbinic practice, and that only happens if the plenum of the Rabbinical Assembly votes by a majority for that, then rabbis are not required to follow it. Excuse me. There's only a few issues that have come up historically where they're called standards of rabbinic practice, like not officiating at a Jewish life cycle event between a marriage between two people if either been married to a Jew before, they don't have the get, or performing intermarriages, or converting somebody without mikvah and circumcision. But if you read the tshuvot of the law committee, they read like traditional tshuvot with sources and answers. So I hope that answers the questions of how legal decisions are made by the conservative rabbi.